work, never has, and never will apparently. But in theory, yeah, they might have a virtuous idea about egalitarianism and sharing the wealth and all this. But the idea of forcing people, coercing people into paying higher taxes, footing the bill for giveaway programs, welfare, and all this, it's never going to fly. You can't do it. It doesn't work. People find attorneys, they find loopholes, and if they can't do that, they just scram. They get out of Dodge. So that's why socialism doesn't work. That's the Robin Hood theory. It's actually theft, stealing from the haves to give to the have-nots. So, yeah, I am opposed to that idea. But you understand, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and that's their argument. Okay, so while I don't prescribe to any kind of socialism as it's been known, I do recognize that there's people that prescribe to it that are just their motives are good, but they are wrong about the idea that it could ever work, that it could ever succeed. It can't. So that's why the only other thing out there, okay, this involves politics and social issues and economics. They're all just lumped together, all these issues. So the social welfare is contingent upon the political welfare, and that's contingent upon the economic welfare. So all these things are tied together. So capitalism is the only political and social hope I see. But you see, they fought vehemently against it, yet they still use that cover, that moniker for the economic system we have, which nothing could be further from the truth. They're deathly afraid of true capitalism, because under true capitalism, progress dictates that we do end up with a situation where a rising tide of creates prosperity across the board. You understand? A rising tide lifts all ships, lifts all boats, however you want to see it. Okay? And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no equivocation there. That's just a matter of fact. That is the result of true free market, supply and demand capitalism. It's inevitable that it results in universal prosperity, which translates to universal freedom. Is that what you think these money masters of misery want? That would render them utterly irrelevant. They don't want that. So just please understand these things I'm telling you. You could take it to the bank, folks. I'm giving you great veracity in such teachings. They got a rally for Trump up in Portland that Antifa has threatened. They're going to be armed, locked and loaded at this rally. So they're threatening violence against the Trump supporters. It'll be interesting to see what the police do. But folks, turn it down, please. I beg you, turn it down. We don't need Satan getting his way any more than he's had. Him and his minions have been running roughshod over us for a long time, and we don't need to give the George Soros types any more comfort. Okay, any more violence is just going to give comfort to the enemy. The enemy is Satan and his witting and unwitting minions. So this division has to stop. Okay, we have to start having conversation. Okay, socialists and capitalists, good ones, have to talk. We have to be honest. Good capitalists have to be honest. We haven't had true capitalism in America in a long time. And point to the examples, the assassination of JFK, who was he was in the process of eliminating the Federal Reserve Bank. He was already printing currency to supplant it, the Federal Reserve notes. And then we had the bailout of '08. Okay, so put it all together, you understand. Capitalism is the opposite of what the rulers want. I've got to hurry up here. I want to finish this series today with this tape, and I've got less than 5 minutes now. The mainstream media is lying about Alex Jones. They say he's the one that shoved a little boy to the ground for punching him. Didn't happen, but they keep on saying it. He's got this Sandy Hook couple that's suing him for defamation. And he's filing a slap suit, but he's only asking for $1 because he has the right, even if he's wrong, he has the right to say stupid things if he wants. But there was a lot of discrepancies about that whole thing. It was not handled per protocol. You know, the only thing I'd be willing to do politically in service of the public society would be to head up the Labor Department. You know, I'm fully qualified to do the basic math required to calculate the true proper equivalent COLA annually. If employers don't like their labor dollars diminishing in worth, good, they shouldn't. This is when the conversation must take place, when we as a nation decide which path we desire is best for all of us as Americans, and by extension, human beings. You know, last week I was talking about my friend Vince from Uganda. He was signature gathering in San Francisco when I met him. He was renting a little office building there and living in the thing. Got very low rent, very low housing costs by doing that, and using a common bathroom there. But you know what it was? I remembered later what it was that made me defriend this guy, and it was just that in Uganda they have capital punishment. They execute homosexuals, and he already knew I was opposed to the death penalty, and he knew all the logic I had, the reasons I was against it. And he still, he came up with that nonsense. And I just felt like I don't want anything to do. I have nothing. I mean, this guy thinks he's smarter than me, arrogant. He's not honoring God, and he's not turning to God for his opinion on this subject. And he's for murdering homosexuals, gays, for their sexual proclivities. And I just think that's absolutely insane. And if that's the law in Uganda, well, that's a cursed nation, and I want nothing to do with it. If he's going to come here and live amongst us Americans, then he's going to have to find a bigger man than me that's going to be a friend to somebody with that kind of warped belief systems, because I can't deal with it. I'm not interested in having conversations with a person like that. Okay, I'm on to some current thoughts. I probably won't get to all of them, but some current thoughts from this past week. Just as we feel one another's pain and sorrow, we feel one another's joy and hope. Scripture unambiguously states, "He does not delight in the destruction of the wicked." The question then becomes, do we delight in the destruction of the wicked? You see, we can think we're like God, call ourselves Christians all day, but be totally wrong. Because we didn't have our priorities straight. We didn't pray to have the right opinions on issues. Under the guidelines of the Constitution, supposedly, Americans have a full, unequivocal, God-given right to free speech. Of course, we all know there are boundaries to free speech, however few. Under these rules, we must police ourselves, remembering the teachings in the book of James and the teachings of Christ, that it is not what goes in a man's mouth that defiles him, but what comes out. We can say whatever we want about others, good, bad, or indifferent. Likewise, others can say what they want about us, sometimes ending with a defamation lawsuit, an assault, a homicide, or just good old-fashioned animosity and hatred. Take the path less traveled, is my advice, and enter through the narrow gate. Love and respect your fellow human beings. And I'm going to end it right there. That's actually advice from Scripture, to enter through the narrow gate, because broad is the path that leads to destruction, and many are those who enter that broad path of destruction. So you've got to really make a concerted effort to be a good, decent, upright human being if you are